Oh, circular motion.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Audiophiles. My name's John, his name's Andy.
It is.
When you're feeling down and your resistance is low, light another cigarette and let yourself go. This is your life. Don't play hard to get. It's a free world. All you have to do is fall in love. More on that later. But first, Andy, my friend, you have a track for us. Pray tell, what may it be?
It is a band that we've already listened to before on this channel some time ago, and it was one of their more recent tunes, very recent actually at that point. So I thought, oh, that gives you a glimpse into how they sound now. But boy, it would be interesting to have you give their early stuff a listen. So I've pulled a track off their, I believe it's their first album, and it's by the band Portugal the Man. You recall our dalliance into them earlier? I think we did Dummy.
Oh, dummy, that's it.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. So this is a very different sound from them, as you'll come to find out on this track called How the Leopard Got Its Spots. All right. So you're equipped with all the information you need at this juncture. Please go off and give it a listen and let us know what you think on the other side.
Will do.
Bones are fitted black, finely tuned to triggers cause bodies that tremble.
Okay. Really nice start. There's those guitars are almost like Interpol. And then he sang that first line. It sounded Beatlesque. Can't think what, but yeah, interesting. And we've already had a change up, so let's just drag it back a little bit. Nice.
Bones are fitted black, finely tuned to triggers cause bodies that tremble. When we hide behind such ugly faces, why do we hide behind such ugly faces? Child-bearing games from the streets down to the shores they're playing, while your ways are bent in an unsyncated cast. Shallow from the beach. When we hide behind such ugly faces, why do we hide behind such ugly faces? Rally all your men, there is work to be done. Still we don't have the time for speaking out of place. He won't come down. He won't come down. He won't come down.
I'm getting little snippets here and there that just or echoes and remind me of sort of Beatles stuff like that bit just there. And then notice the Interpol guitars coming back in. They got loads of ideas and some really nice little bits, but they keep chopping and changing every 20 seconds. It's just you about to enjoy it and let's change to something else. That's kind of annoying me. But the actual quality of the song and the music's really cool. Okay.
Links and snakes, match each silent syllable. With eyes like in space glistening with suspense of a scalpel blade. Clockwork, calculating surgical precision. Shallow from the beach. When we hide behind such ugly faces. Dark-eyed woman, let's surrender. Why do we hide behind such ugly faces? Rally on your man, there is work to be done. Still we don't have the time for speaking out of place. He won't come down. 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 La 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 la. Bones are fitted black, finely tuned to stomach swallowed whole. That body is more shallow from the beach. When we hide behind such ugly faces. Dark-eyed woman, let's surrender. Why do we hide behind such ugly faces?
Yeah, that's a head scratcher, that one. Because I can't say I didn't like it, but I can't say I did like it. Just at each point, with, oh, this is interesting. Yeah, let's change it to something else. That felt a little bit frustrating for my listening experience, and a little bit tiring by the end of it. Oh, they've got to change it. It's another 15 seconds. Let's change it to something else. But the elements in there, I thought were really good. Yeah, there's for me. I don't know. I can't pin all of it, but there seemed to be quite a bit of like Beatlesque feelings to them. And that bit where it sort of broke down and he had sort of voices in the studio in the background and are laughing again, that's kind of felt a bit Beatles. I think that line, because they repeated it later on, it sounds like the bridge bit from We Can Work It Out. Life is very short and there's no time. Is that basically it's similar to that? That's what it reminded me of, wasn't it? But there you go. So yeah, overall, I found this a little frustrating because there's such really nice bits to it. But I guess, that's the way I take in music. I think others will absolutely love this and have absolutely no problem with it at all. So there you go. My problem. But let's get some more info on this and what the hell it's about. I caught very little of it. There's the ugly faces refrain and some, oh, why won't he won't come down. Yeah, so I've got no idea. No change there. Let's go back to Andy and find out what it's all about.
All right, John. So you are back. What did you make of this track?
So, Portugal, the man, the legend. As Marky Smith would say. How the Leopard got its spots. Now, it's a long time ago that I read Rudyard Kipling, Just So Stories, but I believe it's from that.
Yeah.
I think it was a guy who turned himself black and then painted the leopard with spots, as I remember. That's all I remember from it.
Right.
But Kipling, interesting character. some bits which should be glossed over. Anyway, won't get into that.
Yeah.
So this, yeah, I have no idea. I think they just thought that was a cool title because I have no idea how this relates to the song at all. Not that I, spoiler alert, didn't get huge amounts of lyrics, but bits of them
Right.
anyway. I know, unusual for me. But so we start with these almost Interpol-esque guitar parts. You would say this of, post-punky new wavy stuff. Sounds really good. And the vocals come in, along with, at first this is a twinkling sort of synths, and there's some piano chords. And really interesting, like the first couple of lines he sings, and I can't tell you what he's singing, but the melody, I was like, this is familiar. This is Beatles. And I did work it out later in the song. It's the first bit of the bridge in We Can Work It Out, where it goes, life is very short and there's no time. And that bit is the same as the way he sings that. It's
Okay.
slightly, but it's not, a copy, but it's enough there to remind me, which I thought, oh, that's interesting. No time for fussing and fighting, my friend. Then the drums kick in, and we get this synth part that sounds very synthy. That's mimicking the vocal melody as he sings as well. So it's kind of like it's almost like stepping stones, and he's singing as they step on the stones of the synth part. And we're getting two different vocal filters here. So for me, it sounds a bit like there's a dialogue between two characters. That's what I'm guessing. And I hear the line, which is repeated a lot further on the song a few times, is why do we hide behind such ugly faces? I think it's an interesting line. No idea what it means. We go back to the previous theme, but it's got extra drums and this bass that's really noticeable as well. And then, because nearly 15 seconds have passed, it changes again to that earlier synth line, and we get the ugly faces line repeated. At this point, I'm noticing that there's like several motifs or sort of, styles or parts to it that just chop and change about every, everything from 15 to about 30 seconds, keep changing, shifting around. So we go back to a couple of like semi trills, not quite fills from the drums. And then we're into an altered state of the first sort of couple of lines sort of style. But it's got some disembodied voices behind it. And what I describe as a grand swirling backing. I think some of it may be piano and maybe sort of synthy stuff, but it gives them an image. I felt an image of conflict. I don't know, just like something not right. And I heard the lines, he won't come down, quite a few times. The vocals then sort of drift off. It's almost like smoke clearing, and the Interpol guitars come back in. And then back to the previous motif with those drums kicking off again. And then we get the synth vocal melody step to step in. And it goes into like a pounding piano. And he's saying something about rally your men. So these little bits I'm getting, it's something to do with the conflict, I think. That's as much as I'm getting anyway. Then we go into sort of swirling section again. And this time there's multiple vocals. And again, we get this, he won't come down. At this point, the song almost stops. We get a little bit of sort of, again, clearing. And we hear some interesting background noises and then almost like background studio voices and are laughing as well. And I can't pinpoint exactly, but I'm getting Beatles vibes again from that. It's the kind of thing you'd hear in a Beatles thing. And I thought that's really interesting. We then get some la la las. We've talked about this recently in a few. Seems like about 3 episodes in a row we've talked about the las. But they herald an almost triumphal section. Yeah, it just has this feeling of like, it's not celebration, but do you know what I mean? It's like, announce, I don't know, overcome something, I don't know. And I think I couldn't make it out clearly because I didn't know what the initial lines were, but I think those initial lines are repeated or very similar. And along the other parts, and then we finish with the ugly faces refrain. Such a lot going on. I think it took all my effort to keep up with the changes to really let the song itself settle in. It's almost felt like some sort of like album sampler where you get 20 seconds of each tune. It felt a little bit ADHD to me. And I'll be honest with you, I felt a little bit frustrated listening to this because of the chopping and changing. Now, I understand that's the way I take in music, as opposed to other people completely comfortable with it. But from my point of view, I thought there's some really interesting ideas and sections. And actually, if you took in isolation each part, I couldn't really fault any of it. And there were some bits I actually really liked more than others. But I did really like them. But I never felt like I got the chance to enjoy it. Just as you sort of, like on a video game, your bar of enjoyment, like your energy, whatever, is rising, and it chops to the next bit and you're starting again. And I know it went backwards and forwards, but even so, that's the bit that kind of frustrated me. So yeah, this kind of felt like I didn't dislike the song, but I didn't like it as much as I could have liked it. It felt like an 8-course banquet, but all piled onto the same plate at once. And pick your bits out of that with your steak and your ice cream and your whatever. And I just think if they would maybe, it's got so many ideas, clearly. And I just think perhaps if they'd have distilled it a bit more, even if this was a 12-minute song, do you know what I mean? I'd have no problem with that into different sections. But for me and the way I take in information, it was too much chopping and changing for me.
Okay.
So that's my critique.
Okay.
There was real bits in it that I really liked. Don't get me wrong. And it sort of, I just kept getting this subconscious, that sounds like the Beatles. That's influenced by it about 5 times in the song, which is really odd.
Yeah.
Because if you listen to the song just in one go, you can't say, oh, that's Beatles influence at all. No one would. But
Exactly.
subconsciously it's there. I don't know, weird. Anyway, there you go. That's my take.
Well, no, I appreciate that.
Confused.
And it's interesting to hear your experience and how those elements, the changes, and how they happened within generally a shorter period of time. Whereas if they had all happened and had been each had been elongated, you may have had more comfort in that. And this was a little bit odd, that's interesting. It probably, I think, might help explain a little bit too why Prague is so hit or miss with you, and oftentimes miss because of all the changes and the moving around a bit, and maybe not fully realizing some bits is what you take issue with, which is understandable. I happen to like it, but I can understand how or why people would not be drawn to that. So it checks out.
Yeah. And on the converse side of that, I remember when I gave Greg Velvet Underground song, it was a live version, and they basically strummed the same 2 chords for about 5 minutes.
Yeah. And
you could see him getting more and more sort of like, what's going to happen? Something going to happen. Yeah. I'm totally at ease with that. Nothing happening for 5 minutes. Yeah. So that's the other side of the coin. So I understand.
Exactly. Yeah. Of course. Well, thanks again for giving it a go. Portugal the Man, quick recap. They're an American rock band from Wasilla.
Oh, sorry. Could I just interject? Yeah. I have to say as well, this I did enjoy a lot more than the other one. I prefer this approach to the dummy. Yeah.
I thought you might. So yeah, Portugal the Man, American rock band from Wasilla, Alaska, currently based in Portland, Oregon. The group consists of John Baldwin Gorley, Zach Crothers, Kyle O'Quinn, Jason Seacrest, Eric Hauk, and Zoe Manville. Gorley and Crothers met and began playing music together in 2001 at Wasilla High School. However, for the sake of clarity and accuracy, the band on this album and track consisted of John Baldwin Gorley, vocals, guitar, Wesley Hubbard, vocals, keyboard, Zachary Crothers on bass and vocals, and Jason Seacrest on drums, as this was their debut album, and there has since been obviously some turnover after all these years. The group released 2 albums on Fearless Records, released 3 albums on their own label, Approaching Air Balloons, in partnership with Equal Vision Records, then moved to Atlantic Records in 2010, with whom they have released their last 4 album full lengths. Their 2017 single, Feel It Still, won Best Pop Duo and Group Performance at the 60th Annual Grammy Awards. So a bit of history, since we covered them in the last video, we covered them sort of in the contemporary form that the band is. Around August 2002, the band Anatomy of a Ghost was formed by John Gorley, Joe Simon, Dewey Halpus, Nick Simon, and Zach Crothers. Gorley fronted the band, having had no previous singing experience. Anatomy of a Ghost was quickly gained popularity, but before long, the group broke up. And Portugal the Man was originally started as Gorley's side project, with Crothers playing bass. Before they had a drummer, they used drum machines and synth loops as their backing beat. Gorley and Crothers teamed up with Wesley Hubbard, Nick Klein, former guitar tech for Anatomy of a Ghost, and Harvey Tumbleson, and formed Portugal the Man. The band left Alaska and went to Portland with the intent of recording and touring. The band recorded demos in the summer of 2004, followed by a U.S. tour that fall. In spring of 2005, Klein and Tumbleson left the group, and soon after, Jason Seacrest joined the band. Portugal the Man's debut record, Waiter, You Vultures. So it's like waiter, colon, in quotes, you vultures, exclamation point. It almost reads like a line from like a play or a screenplay that you would read from a script. So that's the title. And it was released by Fearless Records in January 24th, 2006. The album was produced by Casey Bates. Unlike the band's later recorded material, the general style of their debut full-length veers closer to a progressive post-hardcore sound, with marked influence of the Mars Volta in particular. Noel Murray of the AV Club wrote this of the band. The Alaska-born, Portland-based Portugal the Man belongs to the same progressive-minded quasi-emo school as Sunny Day Real Estate, Wolf Parade, and Cursive. So, those are bands that I think we're all familiar with. Absolute Punk rated the album an 8.5 out of 10 stars, while the aforementioned AV Club graded it a B. Grant Purdom of Tiny Mixtapes had this to say of the album in his review. The Alaska natives donned several fur hats on their way to the ice fishing spot, displaying a heady mix of influences that's tough to pin down despite several familiar flashes of color. He would add, the brilliant variety of tempos, instruments, and phrasing are offset by the rock-steady rote plateau the songs tend to settle into. In his review of the album for Treblezine, Paul Bozo writes, or Boz, I'd hate to say his name is Bozo, but it's B-O-Z-Z-O. He writes, Waiter, You Vultures is a funky album, to put it bluntly, though not in the James Brown sense of the word. It screws around with well-established musical conventions, arousing many questions about the album. It is an album that should be recommended to everyone for its innovations, but can also be given a warning label for its strange and complex nature. Finally, in a review of the band's discography for Swim Into the Sound, Taylor Grimes opines when discussing this album in particular. Still bearing many of the post-hardcore characteristics of the duo's previous band, Waiter contains the most extensive array of sounds ever captured on any Portugal the Man record. The sound ranges from jazzy, downbeat, late-night tracks like AKA M80 The Wolf to Mars Volta-esque prog rock on Housewarming Party, and even some mosh-worthy Blood Brothers-like instrumentation on Chicago. It's a sight to behold, and the end result is a debut album that's more fleshed out and varied than anyone could have ever expected. It's clear from the beginning that the band is already a well-oiled machine with a defined vision and an insatiable desire to achieve it. In a way, Waiter makes their later pop albums that much more impressive, because the band evolved from something this experimental and vast. So, let's get into these lyrics that you caught some of, but not all, to no one's surprise. Palms are fitted black and finely tuned. to triggers cause bodies that tremble. But this mud looks shallow from the beach when we hide behind such ugly faces. And the dark-eyed woman lifts her head. Why do we hide behind such ugly faces? Childbearing games from the streets down to the shores. They're playing as waterways open in obscene gaping gasp. But this mud looks shallow from the beach when we hide behind such ugly faces. And the dark-eyed woman lifts her head. Why do we hide behind such ugly faces? Rally all your men. There is work to be done. Still, we don't have the time for speaking out of place because he won't come down. He won't come down. He won't come down. He won't come down. When lengths of snakes match each silent syllable with eyes like these, face glistening with suspense of a scalpel blade, clockwork calculating surgical precision. But this mud looks shallow from the beach when we hide behind such ugly faces, and the dark-eyed woman lifts her head. Why do we hide behind such ugly faces? Rally all your men, there is work to be done. Still, we don't have the time for speaking out of place. He won't come down, he won't come down, he won't come down, he won't come down, repeats. La 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 da da, la 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 da da, repeats. Palms are fitted black with finely tuned to stomach swallowed whole that bayou. But the mud looks shallow from the beach when we hide behind such ugly faces, and the dark-eyed woman lifts her head. Why do we hide behind such ugly faces? Yeah, there's definitely some dialogue going on in this track. And while it is a direct allusion to this fable, myth, whatever you want to call it, I have no idea what exactly is being conveyed here, and it's quite mysterious. But the words still are interesting as shit to me for whatever reason, even after all these years not understanding what exactly they mean. But for anybody who listened to Portugal the Man when they first came out, for them to have seen this really strange evolution in their sound, even their makeup as a band, probably would never have expected what they got, in the last couple of years or even in subsequent albums from their first one. This was so indie rock meets prog rock with other elements kind of injected into it as well. That I can see how people probably jumped off the bandwagon as time progressed with these guys, if this is what they thought they were going to get, versus what they've gotten, since. So really interesting band, interesting change in sound and where they started to where they got. For me, I like both. It's rare that I stick with a band when they change their sound so much, because it's like, no, man, you're trying to sell me something that you aren't, or that you didn't on the last album or the first album. So it's, it's interesting, but it's a rare case where I've stuck with their sound, even though they've changed quite a bit. And I imagine a lot of people have firmly turned their back on them after the shift in sound, especially if they were expecting this brand of music. So just
I think if you're presenting a brand of music which is slightly off the more popular shelf, people kind of think, oh, I've found my tribe type thing. This is the outlier music, which is my music. And then when it morphs into something else, whether it's popular or a different sort of, off-brand, as it were, not popularist, then, you feel like, oh, man, I've really hitched onto you. I'm one of the few. Yeah. Now you've gone and fucking changed on me, So, exactly. But yeah, some people take it and run with it, and some people would just, abandon ship,
Yeah. Well, I mean, music and tastes have changed a lot from the early 2000s to where we are.
Yeah, it's a long time. I mean? So you can't be doing the same shit for 20 years.
Exactly.
Well, some bands do, but
Yep. And we've talked about a lot of examples of those kind of bands who are still around, but have changed their sound and are markedly different from, where they were when they started. But it happens, people get older, they change. Hell, we were just talking about Nick Cave, and you had said even a guy as truest as he is to who he, what he believes and what he stands for, has changed his writing over the last few albums, or at least his perspective and lyrical approach a little bit. And there are other bands that do that as well.
Well, just from this, I mean, you think I want to hold your hand to Iron the Walrus. I mean, short about time as well.
9 years or whatever.
Crazy.
Or that.
Crazy.
So it's like,
you know.
yeah. You're absolutely right. And if they can get away with it, anyone can get away with it. So, so yeah, there you have it. Thank you so much for giving this earlier iteration of Portugal the Man a listen. I really just wanted to underscore for you and anyone who might care out in the audience what a vast different sound this is from what we got
very
years
different
ago to their early stuff. So awesome, man. Really appreciate your time and giving this thing a listen. And finding the redeeming qualities in it you did, even if the packaging of it all didn't exactly, tickle your fancy, I suppose. So yeah, guys, out there in the listening audience, please let us know what you thought of this track by Portugal the Man. Be really interested to hear your feedback. And if John pulled out the Beatles, what did you guys hear in this? Are there other tracks by them that we should check out? Other bands similar or akin to this sound that we should check out? Please feel free to put any and all thoughts down in the comments field. The only price of admission is kindness, and we really do appreciate it. Also, please like, share, and or subscribe. Any combination or any one of those things will really go a long way in helping us here at the channel with the algorithm monsters and all of that. So thank you. And hopefully John and I will catch all y'all in growing numbers on the next installment of the Audiophiles. We'll see you later, guys.